Hello again, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. As I mentioned, my name is Audrey Porter, and I'm a sales manager here at Evosys. Joining me today are Calvin Hare, our VP of HCM Cloud, as well as Raj Shah, our Oracle HCM Practice Manager. Just a few housekeeping items before we get into the session. All of your lines have been muted. If you do have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, and we will get to them at the end of the session, or as time permits throughout the session, we will be monitoring the chat as well. But thank you all for joining us today, and we're looking forward to discussing the options of moving from Taleo to Oracle Recruiting. So on the agenda today, we're going to do a little review on who Evosys is, and also we're going to review whether, is it time to transition? Is it time to make that move? And then specifically, we're going to be talking about our Evosys Glide program to take organizations that are using TEE over to Oracle OR today. We'll also be reviewing the key features of Oracle Recruiting and then discussing next steps within the evaluation process. Next slide. Yeah. And then just wanted to provide you with a little bit of information about who Evosys is. As you can see here, Evosys has over 1,000 cloud customers today, and we do have a global presence. We operate in over 30 countries today, but we do have a high focus in North America. Also wanted to highlight the fact that we have over 1,500 experienced consultants that work with us today. And then specifically in relations to Oracle HCM Cloud, we provided a breakdown in terms of our HCM customers here. So as you can see, we have over 130 global HCM customers, 29 OCR customers. And then I wanted to highlight the number of the Taleo customers that we have today. We have over 740 Taleo customers. And really what that means is that not only do we have tremendous experience within Oracle HCM, but we also have deep Taleo knowledge as well. So we can really guide you in terms of making the move, if you're ready, over to OR, because we have that deep understanding of how you're currently using Taleo today, the different features, benefits, and how that would translate into OR. And then I wanted to point out that we do have a Glide program here that we'll be discussing, but we also take on-prem customers to the cloud, e-business suite, PeopleSoft, SAP, etc. And we've completed over 80 of these transformations. And then wanted to also highlight that we have a number of different awards and recognitions from Oracle. And just to do a little bit of bragging, we're particularly proud of the fact that we were named Oracle's Global HCM Partner of the Year in 2019. And also we received Oracle's Product Development Partner of the Year award in 2018 as well. And I will not read this entire slide to you, but this just gives you a nice overview in terms of, why organizations choose Evosys. As I mentioned, we have deep knowledge within Oracle HCM. We actually support all of Oracle's 8 cloud pillars, so we have multi-pillar experience as well. Also wanted to point out that within this experience, we have specifically worked, as I mentioned, with Taleo. So we have that deep knowledge in terms of how the two systems relate to organizations. And specifically, I think the information here, there's a lot of information here, so I don't want to go through all the different bullet points, but as you can see, we have a lot of experience in terms of value-based delivery, moving people from on-prem to cloud, and then specific instances within all of the multi-pillar cloud within Oracle.
Yeah, Audrey, the only other thing I wanted to bring up here too is the bottom left there is we get called in to do what we call rescue projects. That is, Oracle relies on Evosys if they have an implementation partner, an implementation that's going sideways or hasn't gone ideally. They trust us to come in and fix that. And we've actually been pulled in even to Oracle's expense. Sometimes they actually pay us to come in and fix some of these projects when the other implementation partners have not been successful. So that just that along with the awards just kind of adds credibility to why customers choose Evosys.
That's a great point. Thanks, Calvin. And then finally, just wanted to provide you with a slide of some of the customers that we have moved over to OR. I'm sure there's a lot of organizations that you recognize here, but just wanted to give you this slide so you can see the experience we have and the different types of organizations that we've worked with along this journey. So now I will turn it over to Calvin to get into the specifics in terms of why Taleo to OR. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Audrey. And I guess we need to update this because OCR was Oracle Cloud Recruiting, and now they call it OR. So, Oracle likes to change the names of those. So when you see OCR, that means Oracle Recruiting. I believe it's called OR now, right, Audrey?
Yes, today it is.
Today it is. Who knows what it'll be called tomorrow. But anyway, appreciate everybody's time. Thanks for joining us today. Next, we're going to talk about really, what kind of drives whether you should look at transitioning or not, whether it's time to transition. Obviously, if you're on the Taleo systems, and this is not just enterprise, this is business edition too. We have experience in both of them. They're good, robust systems. But of course, if you are an HCM customer and you're linked in and integrated to Taleo from HCM, you now have the option to go to the native module, which is Oracle Recruiting. And some of the drivers of that really is your Taleo system over 5 years old? Again, with all our Taleo experience, and I've been doing Taleo and other applications in talent acquisition for over 15 years. And best practices change within talent acquisition. The industry changes. So if you really haven't updated your system or you haven't really done much to it or optimized it over more than 2 or 3 years, then it's probably due for an optimization, and maybe there's good advantages of actually going to an updated system and going through a re-implementation. So we kind of put the 5-year mark. If you've been on Taleo for over for that long, it might be time to look at moving over. Also, if you're having difficulties with internal candidates, the Taleo systems obviously need to be integrated, so you might not be getting all the internal candidate information in your system. They might have to be applying, whereas with OR, it is a native module, so when you're accessing internal candidates, you're reading directly off the HCM talent profile. So it has all the information on your internal candidates. It has automated intelligent matching to identify some of those internal candidates that would be a good fit based on their profile. And that's just something you can't get in either of the Taleo systems unless you do a custom integration and you bring in all that similar information, and then you still don't have that opportunity for the same level of artificial intelligence matching. Are you looking to use digital assistants and robotic process automation? HCM and having those native modules, being able to leverage the HCM digital assistant, the cloud digital assistant. Obviously in Taleo Enterprise on the social sourcing module, you do have some digital assistant capabilities. OR offers a lot more functionality and it can cut across all the modules. So again, the advantage of having a native module for your talent acquisition. I'm going to kind of put these two together, expand these a little more. Let me just bring them all on. How about that? Marketing campaigns, and on the right there, social recruiting. Obviously in Taleo Enterprise with social module, you have some of this capacity, but again, it's not a native module, doesn't have the same capabilities with OR. these social functions, these marketing campaigns are built into the product. And again, they can leverage your internal population directly on the talent profile. So again, it's just an enhanced functionality, within this new system. Upper right is a really big one. And so with the systems directly connected, getting rid of those integrations, you're not having to, like enterprise, you've probably got 5, 6, 7 different touch points going back and forth. If business edition, you're probably using a partner, you're paying for hosted integrations through maybe Modulus. Those integrations can run into, errors and data issues. And with OR, it's again, plugged in as a native module. You don't have to have those integrations. It's a huge, probably the biggest benefit that you have is getting rid of those integrations. So when you're, not just your internal candidates, when you're accessing your jobs, when you're accessing your business units, all that's coming directly from HCM. It's not being transmitted in through integration. There's no delay. When you're onboarding, your onboarding is within HCM, so you're actually, updating that data within onboarding directly into the HCM system, not capturing it and then sending it over on an integration. So probably the #1 benefit, obviously, of having the native module, within HCM for your talent acquisition. So the big question is it time for a change? With that, wanted to highlight our global Glide program, and this is basically to take Taleo customers to Oracle Recruiting. It's not just an implementation; we call it a transformation. And like Audrey said early on in the presentation, we have the unique ability of unique experience, I guess, in both Taleo and HCM and expertise. So we leverage that when we have a Taleo to Oracle Recruiting, implementation or transformation. And we have a certain process that we call Glide that we've developed that enables us to go through and implement that very efficiently in getting customers from Taleo onto OR. And there's 4 major steps of that we put together into this Glide methodology. One is we spend time doing an assessment. We look at your Taleo system. So, it's not like we're trying to lift and shift, but we need to understand how you're doing things today and also some of the configurations. What are you leveraging in Taleo? So we know, how that translates into what we're going to need to do in OR, like what kind of notifications, how are you doing your offer letters, what's your workflow look like? Obviously, there's differences in the system, but then by looking at Taleo, we can understand, how they're going to translate, and then some of the areas that we need to focus on as far as design and transformation. So that's part of it, and we spend a lot of time doing that because that really adds to the efficiency of the implementation. In that, you have that knowledge, and it helps play into then how you design the new system. Next, and I've detailed slides on here. I'm probably covering some of the detail now, but the next step is obviously we have advisory services consulting. We bring our experience to the table as we're designing the new system, and that plays into getting you the best design possible. We aren't just an implementer that comes in and says, hey, what do you want to do? And then, check off the boxes and then give it to you. We want to make sure that the customer is successful. If you're just implementing an application is one thing, but implementing it based on certain requirements, defining success, and understanding what it is you're trying to do with it, and that's helping you make sure that it meets those needs and gives you those benefits. That's what we do. That's what advisory services. That's what successful implementations are, and that's part of this Glide process. And we'll get into some of how we measure that. And then we have an actual, part of our Glide methodology. The rapid implementation is we come with we come with templates. We know how Taleo is configured. We know what the system fields are like in there. We know how they translate over. So when we're actually done with the design, and then we can move through that implementation fairly quickly. And then the key piece is support services. I mean, we need to make sure you're successful. We don't just get you live and then say, hey, have fun. We make sure that you're successful. We have, post-live support built into every every implementation. We also have the option for various levels of support packages. If you don't have internal admins and you need some support for either a certain period of time or even longer periods of time, we can provide that. We do that for a lot of customers. Getting into the details of each one of these, and I'll cover some of them quickly because I've probably talked about it. Assessment of the configuration process. I'm going to go ahead and build this slide out. These are some of the components under this this part of the methodology. I talked about some of this, but we're looking at your current Taleo configuration. We're looking at, we look at process bottlenecks, workarounds. What have you had to do within Taleo to make it work for you? And then understand how that can be accomplished and improved, in OR. What do you got in there for as far as integrations and data migrations? We know what Taleo integrations look like. We have templates, scripts for those. Data migration, we know what the extracts look like. So we have templates we can start with as far as getting data out of Taleo into OR. Also, the fit to OR functionality. What we learn in Taleo, the systems are different. Some of it translates over fairly quickly. Some of it, we got to make sure, all right, this is how offer letters are done in Taleo. This is how they're going to be done in OR. And then best practices. We do so many of these. Obviously, we are familiar with the latest best practice, what makes customers successful. So we design your system, your transformation to, to best practices, so that when you have the system, it's it's doing what the best practice, it's doing the industry standards as far as, talent acquisition and recruiting. Also in Taleo, unactionable clicks. I mean, how many clicks in there that you have to do that you're really not capturing useful information? Taleo systems, or any system that was built, several years ago, when I first started these, everything was about getting data. You weren't sure what you were going to do with it yet, but we had to capture it. It created a lot of what we call unactionable clicks and extraneous information that you're capturing, but it's not really efficient. So what we focus in the recruiting industry today is how efficient can you move candidates through the process? How efficient can you make recruiters so that they're not doing this this unactionable steps, not wasting their time. Look at any existing manual processes that aren't fit into the system. How do those translate? How can we automate those? And then finally, our success metrics. Again, we want to make sure that you're successful. So it's a value-based implementation. We're like, all right, what do you want to accomplish? What are some of your current metrics? And we're not going to capture all these, but maybe time to fill, time to hire, cost per hire, sourcing channel effectiveness. What are some of the things you really are looking to improve that you're having struggles with? And we get a baseline of those, and we make sure that when we're done with the implementation, that we can measure and understand that you're getting those benefits that you need. All right, on to the next block, the advisory services. And this is where more of our expertise comes into play. Obviously, we are the #1 OR Oracle implementation partner as far as the number of implementations in OR around the world. From a Taleo perspective, we also had, I think, the most Taleo experience in our teams here. So we are leading in the talent acquisition experience, our level of expertise. We specialize in streamlining and adherence to best practices, like I just mentioned, and we bring all that to the table and make sure that you're aware of that, and that we make your application the best it can be for your requirements. We do a transformation. We look to, you're replacing a system. It's not easy. It's a major piece of work. So you don't want to just get a new system to do exactly what your system is today. You want to improve it. You want to get the benefits. You want to transform your processes and make sure they're the best that they can be. And then what we do is we don't enhance unless you need to. The application comes with a lot of functionality. Enhancements can add complexity, and so we have the knowledge to work within the the configuration of the tool and make it do what you need to do and not have to enhance it. Now, enhancement, obviously, when it comes to reporting, you're going to probably want some custom reporting, things like that. But within the application itself, we look to leverage as much of the configuration and much of the application as possible and avoid, customization type of enhancements. All right, moving on to our glide methodology. Mentioned some of these earlier as well, but these are things that we have, incorporated into this methodology to make the implementation more efficient and to make it, quicker, to use less of your resources, to not, to not start from scratch. And like we come to the table with the bottom there, the best practice pre-configuration. You're not going to start from scratch with a blank slate. We're going to come to the table with, we're going to look at your Taleo system. We're going to pre-configure your OR system, based on best practices and what we can glean from Taleo. Not all your customized fields, because we need to talk about each one of those. But we start with a baseline best practice type of configuration, and then we go from there instead of starting from scratch. We look at each customer individually. What are your requirements? No customer is the same. Everybody's organization is different. So we need to make sure when we're upfront getting requirements, we understand each customer's need. I mentioned earlier, we have the data migration toolkit. So we know how to get data out of Taleo. We know how it fits into OR, so we can come to the table and get a head start on that as well. Same thing with configuration, our configuration workbook and toolkit, so we can move rapidly through the requirements. And then finally, just our expertise in implementation. It's going to be done right. It's going to be done right the first time. Okay, moving on to support services. I mentioned that post-live support is included. So we're not going to walk away from you until you're supported. We focus within the implementation on being very collaborative. Our goal is to, by the time we finish the implementation and we do roll off, that you have the knowledge and expertise to support the application ongoing. That you won't need to reach out for us for support unless it's a choice that you make. And some customers do that. They don't want to allocate the FTEs internally to support the system. And so we have managed services, support type contracts that can go from as little as a month maybe to several years. And sometimes we work with customers where our staff actually is their ongoing admin team. We're all over the globe, so no matter what time zone we have the ability to support you. We have resources as part of our support team that's been works across time zones on a global level. And we have the ability with support programs to structure them for individual needs, number of resources, availability of certain hours, SLA, service level agreements, whatever the customer needs to make sure that they have support. We have the flexibility to provide that.
I think
what we're talking about now is top reasons our customers make the transition. I mean, we looked at some areas like, was it time to change? Now we're going to highlight from a functionality perspective, what we feel are some of the top reasons the customers change. And then obviously, number one there, we've talked about that already. It's a native module. There's no integrations. Number two, obviously, and these aren't in any particular order as far as except maybe the native module, the no integrations, but after that, I mean, these are all just pieces of functionality that and reasons that customers are moving to OR. Obviously, it's got an engaging candidate experience. Comes out of the box, fully mobile responsive, a lot of extensible, number 12 there, extensible branding, multimedia support within the candidate experience. So it can be really best in class, engaging candidate experience. It's efficient. I mentioned mobile responsive, so it doesn't matter what device you're on. It's very appealing to the eye, very engaging, very easy to get through. Deferred registration is a big one, and this is something that came up. Started seeing it maybe 2 or 3 years ago that didn't want candidates to have to register, put in a password because candidates were dropping off. They didn't want to do it. And so applications have been moving in that area. Applications have been moving in that area to make it more efficient. And OR is one of those. They only need an email to start the application. They don't need to put in anything else. Don't need to make a password. They can go ahead and give their email, and they go right into the application, and then they can, confirm that registration later on after they've gone through the application. But it gets their information in, lets them get started, and you don't have that drop off out of the application that you've seen in some of the other applications where you have to register. It's 100% mobile responsive. Obviously, I mentioned that. Adaptive intelligence. I mentioned that as well a little bit. Adaptive / artificial intelligence, and that is it leverages the data that it has in the system to try to do intelligent matching for your jobs. It's much more than just advanced search. And underneath the covers, I can't tell you how it all works, but I know I've seen it work, and it'll present those candidates that it believes are a good fit. With an adaptive score, and it just does that, leveraging the information it has. Raj may know a little bit more about how it works under the covers, but I know it's a huge benefit. From a career page, and again, the extensible branding, just things to make it look very well, give you options on your career page designs. It does have texting support, number 9 there, SMS, and I know some partners are working to provide texting within the Taleo applications as well, but it's not native. It's not not something that's like an Oracle validated integration. It has to be done custom, and but this one does support it. Talent pools. It does have the talent pools, which is more than just a folder. Allows candidates to apply to them, put their information in a talent pool. Those talent pools then can be leveraged by even outside recruiters. We have customers now that want some outside organizations to have access just to specifically those talent pools without any more information, and they have the ability to do that. You have your HCM system, so the user interface is familiar. It's the same interface now as across all of HCM Cloud. And another big advantage, number 10, is your data is now accessible through HCM, business intelligence analytics. It's not just the recruiting data. The recruiting's in there with HR, all the rest of your data. You can, capture it in reporting all together. I know Taleo Enterprise has Oracle Business Intelligence as a reporting, but only has the ability to get to, Taleo data. It doesn't have the ability to combine. You've got to, extract and take those down into another area and combine them, manually if you're going to do that. But with this, all your recruiting data can be reported against, with your HR data easily, because it's all coming from the same place. And chatbots, the digital assistant has those kind of capabilities that are more extensible than what you've seen in, in Taleo. Allows the candidates to interact with the system through digital assistant, through chatbot, search for jobs, ask questions on their career, apply to the jobs. And we'll, I have a few slides where I'm going to show you little examples of the system for those of you that haven't seen OR yet. Next slide. All right, now we're going to take a little bit of a look at the actual application, and we're going to talk about the candidate experience. This is just some of the things that OR differentiates itself. We'll look at the hiring manager experience. I'm not sure how many of you actually seen OR yet, but this is kind of just some snapshots of the candidate experience and some highlights. Very easy to use. The career site, like we mentioned, a lot of different branding and configurability. Candidates' browsing history is used proactively to present information about jobs and opportunities, true CRM type functionality, not just putting in preferences. It actually can, look at your browsing history, what jobs you've looked at, and it uses that information like a CRM system. Deferred registration, only email. The search is very simple. It's just a Google-like search that most of us are used to using on other websites. Boolean capability, just put in what you're looking for and it presents that information. And then the job details, much more than just the description. It can contain videos, images, location information, job sharing through social media, as you'll see in that has all the social media type links. You can see some of the rich content there, and that's in the job description itself. From an example of a digital assistant, these would be just some quick, simple spread of examples of a conversation, and the chat bot pops up and can I help you with anything? And then wants to know, do you have a question about our marketing specialist? If they look for that, would you consider a junior candidate? What are the career opportunities? It can present a career development path. And this is actually, these are real screenshots taken from, a conversation on the digital assistant. It's not just looking for jobs. They can talk about more information about career development, whatever's built out into that application. So, and I know from a generational perspective, the younger ones, the millennials, they like to interact with these digital assistants. They're only on the phone. They might not even have a computer. And so this is key functionality to target, the latest generations within, that are out there looking for jobs. From a hiring manager experience, it's a very, a lot more rich of an experience than you'll see in the Taleo applications. They have, they're using HCM today, the hiring manager self-service. This is just an extension of that. Now they have, within my team, they have hiring. They can create requisitions. They can view details of the requisitions, so they can see the number of applications, get information on there. A lot of graphical displays within the application, like you can see in this lower right, where you see all the employment laid out in a graphical format. They can look at the status, the last contact, easily look at assessments, questionnaires, and of course it's controllable by permissions, what you want them to have access to, but it just puts the information right in front of them in a very visible, friendly way to access it. And then within Oracle, the onboarding part of it, the new hire experience. This is one, again, where this is differentiated by being a native module. The onboarding function of OR is actually built into HCM. So once the candidate comes over from recruiting and they go into HCM, as a pending worker, then you have the ability to open up like pre-hire and onboarding type, pre-boarding and onboarding type applications. These are some examples, like maybe before their first day, they get information about when and where to show up. They can do welcome videos. They can fill out policies, confidentiality agreements. They can upload additional information that you might need from them, like education certificates, transcripts, things like that, or other type of documentation, immigration type information, just, so HR can prepare for their first day. And then once they get to that first day, they become employees, then they have, additional information. Now they can actually enter their data in the system, and they, like I mentioned before, they're actually entering it right into HCM, not being entered and then passed through integration. So when they're putting in their, their emergency contact information, when they're filling out their benefits information, that data is flowing into the HCM modules directly. So if you haven't seen it, it's a very, very nice system. It's just kind of the next step on from, the Taleo applications, which, don't get me wrong, they're still very good. I've worked with them for years. But, if you're an HCM customer, OR is probably where you want to be for the next step. From an analytics perspective, this is just an example of the, the business intelligence capabilities. Comes with a lot of out-of-the-box type of analytics and dashboards, but also Evosys has a whole team, a lot of expertise in building, customized and getting the data for a customer to display the information and provide the information that they need to to monitor the application and improve performance as they move along. And this is just one example of what can be done. There's multiple ones. And I think we're getting close to the end here. Yeah, I think that's it as far as what we wanted to show. I think next we'll talk about some next steps, and Audrey's name is there. And do we have any questions to answer? Audrey, I'll turn it back to you then.
Sure, thanks so much, Calvin. And again, if there are any questions, please don't be shy. You have us here. We'd love to answer any specific questions that you may have. And also wanted to point out that we definitely want to help you as you go through this process and this evaluation. We can certainly provide demos of OR. As Calvin mentioned, seeing it live is really powerful just to see the different features and benefits in action. And we'd also be happy to schedule an assessment that Calvin reviewed to provide you essentially with a roadmap on how to move from Taleo to OR, and we can map out, the customizations that you have in Taleo today, so that those are taken into consideration when you're looking to make a move over to OR. But certainly, while we have a few minutes, it looks like we have a question. Let me see that. Bear with me one second. Question is, what are the biggest issues to be aware of when making a change from a compliance perspective, in particular EEO and affirmative action?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on your, the type of your organization. Your government contractor, obviously, there's a little more rigor around that. Both systems support full EEO. And so we would certainly, need to incorporate that as part of the data migration as we're bringing data over. We would bring over, that EEO information that candidates have put in and that captured, so that it's present. We'd make sure that, the applications that we create within, within OR are built to the latest EEO standards and the needs of your organization, where you need to capture that. There's probably a pre-offer and a post-offer capture of EEO, and then also from a reporting perspective, that's where it's critical as far as what type of reporting you need off of EEO. Because that's really what drives things like affirmative action is, if you're hitting your targets, you got to get meaningful and accurate reporting to be able to, to track that and manage that.
It looks like we are set with questions for now, but certainly if any questions arise, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have. And as I mentioned, we're more than happy to discuss an assessment with you to provide you with that roadmap. And certainly, we're happy to arrange a demo of OR as well so that you can see it in action. But we really appreciate your time today, and thank you so much, Calvin, for walking us through the deck. I think it was really, really informative, so thank you very much.
My pleasure. Yeah, and thanks, Audrey, for joining, and Raj, and thanks to everybody on the line. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to us for more information.